All right, hello and welcome to No Time for Mercy. This is I figured this we can bump that up. Is there an option for me to get out of that once I do it? Okay, anyway, No Time for Mercy is a visual novel by Awesome Trinket. It was part of the Spooktober Visual Novel Jam. Anyway, I'm only going to I'm going to do about, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes of this. I bought it on itch for $5, so it's not like a bad price potentially for what we get. I am running it in window mode. I should probably see if I can do full screen anyway, but I'll check that in just a second. So this visual novel is not suitable for children under 16 or for people that are easily disturbed. This game touches on many topics that could be potentially be upsetting or triggering to someone. That could be potentially upsetting. Get rid of that B. Anyway, these topics include death, blood, gore, violence, grieving, depression, animal abuse, death, body horror, vomiting, cannibalism. It's like a weird one to see in there. All right, I'm gonna just, whatever. I'm just gonna stick with what we've got here. This looks like somebody actually went to a convenience store or perhaps a grocery store, took a bunch of pictures, and then ran it through a filter. This is obviously Dr. Pepper, I think. Oh, look. Interesting. It's not unthinkable to believe that after 6 months, Victoria would have healed at least a little bit from Naomi's disappearance. Yet here she stands now with her head in her hands and wishing with all she had in her heart that Naomi was still here. Victoria isn't exactly too sure why Ma got it in her head that she should spend her summer break working at the shop, but it wasn't like she had any way to fight or say no. After all, it was the shop the family had for generations. It was only fair she went through what was essentially the Wang jury duty. Is that how you pronounce it? I think it is. Or Huang? I'm not gonna look it up. I'm just gonna just go with stick with it. Stick with my guns. Besides, it was probably for her own good, right? She'd hold herself away in a room all winter and spring. Maybe it was better to get out and talk to people instead of wallowing in her own misery. So here she is now, leaning on her elbows behind the checkout counter and scrubbing her face with her hands. Victoria's used the waking up. Victoria's used to waking up before dawn because of school and all that, but she'd been hoping to catch up on some rest during the summer. It's weird that like you can say that like I used to do this, and it sounds normal in a normal sentence, but then when you put it on paper or you write it down and read it, it just sounds so weird. At least when school was in, she didn't have to work late into the night. Welcome. I'm just going to say the convenience store so I don't screw up the proper pronunciation. How can I help you? Despite being half convinced she's hearing things, Victoria mutters the oh-so-familiar greeting under her breath, just so she doesn't have to go insane listening to those same 13 songs played on the store's tennis speakers. Tiny. Yes, 13, she counted. If Naomi was in the store with her, she'd probably have a much better time. They could laugh and converse and let the hours without any customers fly by. Or at least until Ma kicks Naomi out. I miss you so much. No, Victoria shouldn't think these things. This cashier thing was exactly to take her mind off it. Ma had already put her foot down 2 months ago and made Victoria take down the missing person posters for Naomi anyway. Speaking of Ma, your mother is a shadow person. Stand up straight. The customers don't want to see you slouching. Ma's black shoes clack across the dirty gray linoleum floors as she makes her way to the counter. Victoria can already feel her glare settling on her. She frowns behind her hands, but nevertheless does what she's told. Dropping her arms back down to her side and straightening her spine, she switches back to her native tongue of Mandarin Chinese to speak to Ma. Sorry. Ooh, sorry sounds a lot like sorry in English. You've been doing this for 3 weeks. You should know better by now. Unsure of what to say, she simply repeats her previous statement. Sorry. Ma's expression softens a smidgen when she sees the exhaustion behind Victoria's eyes. Just don't look like a slob, okay? Okay. With that, she turns her back on the girl and grabs a large cardboard box filled with bags of potato chips. And there Ma goes, her footsteps ringing in Victoria's ears as she stacks the bags on empty shelves. She watches her leave before turning her attention to the glass windows to the left of her. It's late at night now, but Victoria still has a few hours left on her shift. Victoria stands there and stares down at the counter for what feels like ages. She hopes that no one else comes through those doors. If she's lucky, Ma would let her lock up early. Early nights are always the best. Ma's phone buzzes in her pocket. Slipping it out, she squints at the screen and starts to scrunch her lips up in that way she always does when she's upset. Victoria leans over the counter and calls out, "Ma, what's wrong?" "I'm heading out. Benji says the car broke down in front of the physical therapy building. Yun will keep an eye on you. Could be Yoon." "Okay, be safe." As she watches Ma scurry out the door, Victoria folds her arms on the counter and rests her chin on them. Dad's foot is finally starting to heal a bit after breaking it a month ago, but progress is slow. And once again, Victoria is more or less left alone in the store. With bated breath, she waits a moment to see if Ma is going to pop back in. After she decides that Ma is definitely gone, she reaches into her jeans pocket and pulls out a worn-out photograph. Wish we could go back to these days. We were so happy then. Both of us. Both Naomi and Victoria had been about 10 years old when the photo was taken. They stood together, carefree and full of joy, with a local fair town over as their scenery. Okay, I totally butchered how that comes out. This is why I don't do visual novels. I have the reading capability of like William Shatner and oh god, who's that other guy? Christopher Walken combined and a third grader. So I mean that's my reading capabilities. Anyway, back then, Victoria's yearning for adventure burned its brightest. Though neither girl could go far, part of the fun was finding mystery and secrets within the ordinary world they'd lived in. Familiar pangs of loneliness washed over her from the top of her head to her toenails. It takes everything she has not to weep. It's been 6 months since Naomi's disappearance, and the pain hasn't gotten any easier to deal with. The photograph slips from between her fingertips and drops to the tiled floor. She kneels down, back turned away from the counter. Victoria frowns as she reaches down. She curses to herself as the shop's doorbell jingles. "Welcome to the convenience store. I'll be up in a bit. Just remember, I'm just trying not to mispronounce words, so I'm just skipping them and making my own thing up." Okay, she freezes in place, fingers half curled towards the photo. Victoria sucks in a breath at the familiar lilt of the girl's voice, a voice that she thought she would never hear again. Huh? After the moment of shock passes by her, Victoria's... oh my gosh. After the moment of shock passes by her, Victoria stands up quick and takes in the sight of the person that had just walked in. Gray eyes meet blue. The fluorescent lights that hang above their heads shines a ring of light on top of Naomi's hair. There she is. Oh, jeez. Naomi Chunhua-Lu? Is that? I don't know. I mean, I hope I got at least like part of it right. Her best friend since first grade, standing there in the flesh again. Why would it refer to her? I don't even know. Without so much a second thought, she vaults herself over the countertop and wraps Naomi in a tight hug. Victoria can't stop the tears from pouring down her face, staining the shoulder of Naomi's blouse. What is she? She probably had eye makeup, yeah, based on this, so it's... I hope it doesn't... It's like a permanent stain. Oh, look, we can move this around and stuff? That's cool. I missed you. I missed you so much. Eventually, Naomi embraces Victoria as well. I missed you too, but is it really you? Yeah. It's me. It's Vic. I missed you so much. Where have you been? Naomi, I've been worried sick about you. What happened? Where did you go? We've had countless search parties going for you and your mom. Do you know how worried we've all been? I don't die. Oh. Naomi glances downward, able to meet Victoria's gaze. I'm sorry. We're making you worry. I know you're mad at me for disappearing like that. Like a stake to the heart, Naomi's words pierce straight through Victoria. Before she can crush her best friend's ribs, Victoria lets go of Naomi, instead of placing one hand on her shoulder. With her free hand, she wipes the tears off her cheek the best she can. No, I'm not mad. I'm really not. I'm just so glad you're all right. But you know what? Let's talk about this over some food. Have you eaten yet? Not in a while. No. Yeah, I'm getting you some food. Come on, go sit over there. I'll get some noodles. Okay. She leans on the counter as Victoria rushes to the break room and throws a large glass measuring cup full of water into the microwave. Yanking 2 cups of dried instant noodles out from the cupboard, she'd gotten the bright idea a few weeks ago to keep some containers in the break room for late nights like this. When the water boils and she pours it into the noodle cups, Victoria marches her way over to Naomi and plops down her cup in front of her with triumph. Here, it's your favorite flavor. Bet it's milk flavored. Naomi nods in response. She picks up her chopsticks and starts to stuff noodles into her mouth. When she does, she coughs and sucks in a breath. Ah, that's spicy. After a moment, though, Naomi recovers from her initial shock and continues to devour her food. Victoria wonders when was the last time she ate. The way she's going now, Naomi acted like she'd been starved for days. But Victoria doesn't open hers yet, instead staring intently at Naomi. She looks healthier at least, that's good, but she couldn't shake her last mental image of Naomi out of her head. The Naomi that was almost deathly pale and hadn't slept in literal days. The shaking, the rambling, and no. New beginnings, no more thinking of the past. That's right, deciding to focus on the good, Victoria takes in the new side of her. Her cheeks really do look fuller, the light in her eyes is back, and for a brief moment, Victoria almost forgets how harsh the year has been to her. Almost. Naomi meets her gaze. She swallows a piece of shrimp and tilts her head. What's the matter? What can I say to that? What happened to you? Naomi blinks in response. Huh? You go off the deep end after everything that happened, and you call me at 3 in the morning, rambling about how they're coming, and then you and your mom just vanished for months. We had search parties going every night, and then you up and show up completely out of nowhere. Victoria's shaking again as everything spills out before she can filter herself. We were all worried sick about you both. Everyone here in Bridge Creek, not just me. I had to stop watching the local news. I'd stay up until I passed out listening to it in case I heard they found your body in a ditch somewhere. I just want to know what happened to you. That's all. Why'd you have to go, huh? Even Benji told me that you guys were probably dead at this point. She bites the inside of her mouth to chase away the tears in her eyes. Just anything, please. Just tell me anything. Oh, I'm really sorry, Vic. Things have been... they've been a bit of a mess at home. I get that, I really do. I should have told you before we left, but after everything that happened, Mom and I went to stay with some relatives for a while. We just couldn't be in the house. I have to admit, though, it really did us some good. Victoria breathes a sigh of relief. If she's being perfectly honest, anything is better than the trembling, paranoid, grieving shell of a girl her friend had become. Yeah, it kind of shows. You look good. The smile creeps along Naomi's face as she leans forward, staring down her soup. Thank you. You couldn't have shot us a text, though? Like, just anything, so we didn't think you guys had been kidnapped and murdered or something like that. I'm really not trying to be mean, it's, well, the words fail to come to her. No, I get it. I do. I shouldn't have dipped out like that. But I can't stay for long. I'm leaving again soon. The color drains from her face. What? Yeah. My mom's been planning it for a while. She does not meet Victoria's gaze and instead stares into her food, though she does not eat anymore. We just can't live here anymore, you know? Everything's been so rough for her lately, and she's been doing so much better with our relatives. So, we're moving. Victoria doesn't even know what to say anymore. This is... I don't know. This just feels all so sudden. I know. I'm sorry. Everything's crashing down around her mind. In 20 minutes, she'd felt a joy unlike anything else at the reappearance of her best friend, only to have it ripped away from her. Like watching a handful of sand pour out from between her fingertips. Victoria could feel Naomi slipping away from her all over again. There's nothing she can do to stop it. I'll be leaving again in a week. And that's it? After that, you're just gonna jump off the face of the earth again? I hate to say it, but going off the grid was really good for us both. It's not anything against you, really. Maybe I'll be able to keep in touch with you this time, maybe not. We really don't know. Victoria opens her mouth but can't find the words to respond, as if a hand reached out and squeezed her vocal cords shut. She's forced into a silence that fills her lungs. Mom said to say my goodbyes for the week, so here I am. Pretty late, think my mom wants me back by now. Maybe I'll drop by tomorrow, okay? I guess. I'll be working at the shop, so I might not be able to hang out too much. That's okay, I don't mind. Before Victoria has much time to process everything, Naomi pushes her half-empty cup of noodles towards her. Do you want the rest? But it's your favorite. I got it just for you. Thank you, but it's a bit too spicy for me. Wait a second, huh? The mention of the spices being too much makes her stop dead in her tracks. Victoria stares at Naomi with an overwhelming confusion as the dark-haired girl stands up and waves goodbye. With that, Naomi opens the glass door and vanishes into the sopping, humid night. Sopping? Humid night? Yeah, sopping. English is hard. This isn't right. She loves spicy food. She'd never say something was too spicy. Oh no, gosh forbid people have changing taste buds. Her reflection in the orange-red broth mirrors not but a heartbroken and bewildered girl. Anguish paves way to a gnawing horror in her brain. Something is wrong. She really didn't want to believe it, but something is horribly wrong and she doesn't know what. Everything felt off, no matter how many times she thinks about it. Strange thoughts begin to swirl in her head. They're terrible and gross and feel alien to her, like rusted gears turning for the first time in years. What happened to you? Yes, what did happen? Ever happen to you? Nothing is wrong with Naomi. Well, I'm going to let this serve as the introduction to the game. Because I am standing by, like, my intention of playing only 15 to 20 minutes. And I figure the way it works is, like, for a visual novel, if you get into it in the first 15, 20 minutes, if it seems appealing, that's probably enough to convince you to, possibly purchase the game or try it or whatever and actually experience it. So, my thoughts on the game thus far are that the writing is probably the part of the game that I would consider the exceptional part. I am obviously, well, I'm not a 15-year-old girl, so it's really hard for me to say I know how Victoria feels. But I think that it's written really well, and the way that, not so much the character expressions, but the character expressions and the art, it's all fine and dandy. The writing is really done in a great way to kind of help explain, like, the emotions that Victoria was feeling and that Naomi's lack of it and some other stuff. I think it's well written. Essentially, that's what I'm saying. There's a couple little grammar issues here and there, but nothing big. So anyway, this video is there to potentially pique your interest towards the game. It is, like I said, it's well written. It's on itch. You can go and pick it up today if you want. So that's all I got. It's a good game. I don't have time for more at this time, so that's also the reason why I'm keeping the video up to 20 minutes. That, and also, otherwise, why would you go play this if I read the entire experience? That doesn't make any sense. It's essentially reading a book. So I would encourage you to go and read through it yourself and have a good time with it. Anyway, links in the description. Do what you will with it, and that is all I have. Have a nice day.